Okay, so can you start by introducing yourself and explaining your area of research?
Yes. So I'm Robert McEachnie. I'm a lecturer at UNC Charlotte in the History Department. I specialize in the history of the ancient world, including ancient Rome specifically, but also more broadly in the Mediterranean world.
Could you give us a brief description of your current research or a current project you're working on?
So I actually just completed a book that'll hopefully be out by the end of the year that's on the city of Aquileia, which is at the north end of the Adriatic Sea. In what is today Italy. It was the third largest city in Italy during the Roman Empire. And I look at its changes both culturally and socially and economically from about the year 350 to 450 as Christianity becomes dominant and the religious arena changes, how that changes patterns of giving and patronage and philanthropy in the city.
So can you tell us a little bit about the Jerusalem dig site and why it's historically important?
So the Jerusalem dig site, which we talk about as on Mount Zion, which is one of the hills of Jerusalem, is the only dig in Jerusalem run by an American university. It lies today right on the south border of the city wall, but was inside of the city walls up until the year 1400. So during the Roman period, the Byzantine period, the early Islamic period, the Crusader period, it was inside the city walls. It has multiple layers that date back all the way to the Iron Age, including the Maccabean period, the Roman period, Byzantine, and on. And it really shows the different layers of the history of the city, of a Jewish, a Christian, a Muslim inhabitants in the city, and how those stack on top of each other. And it really is, hopefully this year especially, when we are reaching the lower levels, will shed light on the layout of the city in that region during the period.
Can you tell us about the opportunities for graduate and undergraduate students who would be interested in the study abroad course that we offer?
Yes, so students are able to come every year to participate in the dig fully. We use it as a field school, so students can learn. They don't need to have any prior archaeological experience. They can learn the techniques of digging, of processing finds, and then working in what will ultimately be a museum dedicated to the history of Armenians in Jerusalem, but also to the history of Jerusalem generally. We're processing all the finds in collaboration with the Israeli Antiquities Authority to hopefully set up a museum long term. And so students will not only find things in the archaeological dig, but learn how to process them, clean them, identify them, and then think about how we tell a story to the general public with those materials about the history of Jerusalem and all of its many inhabitants. And that is open to undergraduates, and then for graduate students we could have them specialize in the museum to get international experience in an environment like that, which is very hard to come by.
So you've spoken a little bit about how the work at the site connects to public history. Is there any other way that your specific research for the dig site connects to the area of public history?
I mean, the dig site is a natural place for the public to connect with the history of religions, but also with the history of the city of Jerusalem. Being able to see and handle elements is a really fascinating way for the public to connect, and long term that site will hopefully become an archaeological park, and so making that a place where people can come and literally interact with the past. For my own work, I have started to incorporate more digital elements in terms of mapping. Some of my work in Aquileia focuses on looking at inscriptions, right, donor inscriptions of how people gave and where they gave, and building databases out of those that then will be accessible to the public, but also documenting those in a new way. They hadn't been photographed since the 1940s, and so photographing them anew and making those pictures available was part of letting the public see the actual evidence of the ancient world.
Now, will that end up as like a digital media project, or a website maybe?
That's the idea, that it complements my book, right? And so that people will actually go see all of those inscriptions that I talk about there. So hopefully, and includes in that is mapping, because I have evidence of immigration during the period from Syria, and so looking at those connections across areas. I worked with the Pleiades project out of UNC Chapel Hill, and the Ancient World Mapping Center that's located there as well, to create those digital records that people can interact with.